Nice to see you.
Thank you very much for being here. Are you actually a little nervous?
I am so bloody nervous.
Really?
Come on. You got nothing to be nervous about.
That's right.
I'm nervous.
You have nothing to be nervous about. Why would you be nervous?
Well, because you've been ripping on me for, 7 years.
At 54 years old, Lisa Marie Presley finally opened up about the most painful chapters of her life. After her son's tragic death, she kept his body preserved for 2 months. But that wasn't even her most startling admission. She revealed that she had been taking as many as 80 opioid pills every single day, sometimes mixing them with cocaine just to get through the day. Her substance use nearly ended her life on several occasions. The convulsions, the heart problems, the periods of unconsciousness, all of it traced back to wounds that began many years before. The real story of what truly broke the daughter of Elvis Presley was finally brought to light. Lisa Marie Presley entered the world on February 1, 1968, in Memphis, Tennessee. She was the only child of Elvis and Priscilla Presley. From the very beginning, she was in the public eye. Her father was the most recognizable entertainer on the planet, and her mother was just 22 years old. Lisa Marie didn't just receive a financial inheritance. She was born into a legacy. When Elvis passed away in 1977, she became the sole inheritor of Graceland. By her 25th birthday, the estate's value had soared past $100 million. She had wealth, recognition, and a name that would always be remembered. But behind the riches was a childhood marked by stress, confusion, and heartache. Her earliest years were spent at Graceland, surrounded by wonder and excitement. Elvis doted on her. He showered her with gifts, horses, and affection. They would ride around the grounds together and sometimes go out for late-night treats. She was the center of his universe. But this happiness was short-lived. In 1972, when Lisa was just 4, her parents separated. The press followed every development. Photographers and journalists turned her family's troubles into public entertainment. One day she was living a dream, the next her world was divided. After the split, Lisa Marie began splitting her time between 2 homes. She lived with her mother in Los Angeles and traveled back to Memphis to see her father. The 2 environments couldn't have been more different. With Priscilla, she was in the heart of Hollywood, surrounded by celebrities and glamour. With Elvis, she returned to the South, where things felt both familiar and unpredictable. She was caught between 2 lifestyles, 2 parents, and 2 realities. She struggled to find where she truly fit in. She found comfort in creative expression. While she respected her father's legacy, she gravitated toward his gentler works, like Don't Cry Daddy and Love Me Tender. She also admired artists such as Elton John and David Cassidy. Their work helped her cope with loneliness. These early influences shaped her later creative output, which would be marked by the same kind of raw honesty and pain. But none of this could shield her from what was to come. The distance between her parents, the constant scrutiny from the public, and the endless travel began to wear her down. In her mother's autobiography, Priscilla described how Lisa would call her in tears late at night. She felt adrift. Then the most devastating event of her life occurred. On August 16, 1977, everything changed. Lisa Marie was just 9 years old. She was inside Graceland when she discovered her father collapsed in his bathroom. Elvis Presley was gone at 42. Lisa saw him lying there, lifeless, in a place she was never supposed to enter. The bathroom was always off-limits. But that morning, she walked in and witnessed something she could never forget. The house erupted into chaos. Emergency workers rushed in. It took several people to lift Elvis onto a stretcher. Lisa screamed and tried to follow, but adults restrained her. She fought to stay close to him. She never saw his face as they carried him out. She later said that not seeing him like that was a small mercy, but the pain lingered. Her grandfather's voice echoed through the house. Your daddy's gone. He's gone. Just like that, the most important person in her life was gone. Lisa had always feared something like this would happen. She had written poems with lines like, I hope my daddy doesn't die. She sensed something was wrong. She had seen him unwell, had seen him unconscious. She was just a child, but she could tell something was deeply wrong. Her poetry became a warning that no one heeded until it was too late. After Elvis died, Lisa didn't immediately receive his fortune. The estate was placed in a trust. She had to wait until she was 25 to access it. By then, both her grandfather and great-grandmother had passed away, making her the only living heir. When she finally received the inheritance in 1993, the estate had grown to around $100 million. She became one of the wealthiest young women in the country. But money didn't erase the pain. In her memoir, Lisa spoke candidly. She said, My life as I knew it is completely over. The loss hit her harder than anyone could imagine. She wasn't just grieving her father, she felt trapped with a mother she didn't feel close to. "He's dead and now I'm stuck with her," she said. That one sentence revealed how shattered she felt. Her childhood was over. The one person who made her feel secure was never coming back. She had to mature quickly, and she did. But the emotional wounds remained. In high school, Lisa Marie felt even more isolated. Around 1984 or 1985, when she was about 16 or 17, she dropped out completely. She later described this as the start of her self-destructive period. Her life quickly became filled with drugs, pain, and rebellion. Bands like DVO and the Sex Pistols blared from her room. She used them to drown out her sadness and confusion about her identity. Priscilla noticed the changes early on. She enrolled Lisa Marie in a school run by Scientology, hoping it would help. But nothing could stop the downward spiral. Lisa Marie later admitted that the drugs and rebellious behavior left scars that lasted for years. The more people tried to control her, the more she resisted. At just 14, Lisa Marie began seeing a man who was 23. It was a relationship born out of loneliness and confusion. She was searching for affection and escape, but instead of care, she was betrayed. The man secretly took compromising photos of her and sold them. The damage was profound. Lisa Marie was already vulnerable, and this betrayal devastated her. The humiliation from the photos pushed her to the edge. That same year, she swallowed 20 Valium pills in an attempt to end her life. She was only 14. The pain of losing her father, the pressure from her mother, and now the public shame became overwhelming. Her overdose forced those around her to finally recognize how much she was suffering. By the time she turned 17 in 1985, Lisa Marie was still using drugs. Priscilla took a drastic step. She placed her daughter in Scientology's Celebrity Center in Los Angeles. The center didn't offer traditional rehabilitation. Instead, it used structure, peer support, and a unique approach. Lisa Marie didn't immediately embrace the program at the Celebrity Center. She admitted that during her first few days there, she stayed in her room, still under the influence, avoiding everyone. But things began to shift when she was asked to help another young person who was struggling. That small responsibility gave her a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in a long time. It was the first real sign that she might be able to change. When she turned 18 in 1986, Lisa Marie officially joined Scientology. She credited the organization with helping her break free from her addiction. It became her new community, a place where she felt she belonged and could start over. But this new life came with its own set of demands. Scientology required total loyalty, secrecy, and strict adherence to its rules. Lisa Marie stayed involved for many years, even as controversy and criticism grew around the group. Eventually, in 2013, she decided to leave. She later said that the control and manipulation had become too much. Still, for a period in her life, it was the only place that gave her a reason to keep going. Lisa Marie's autobiography, From Here to the Great Unknown, reveals a heartbreaking story of abuse that began when she was just 10 years old. Her mother's boyfriend at the time, Michael Edwards, who was known for acting in movies, started to abuse her in the late 1970s. This was a period when Lisa Marie was still grieving the loss of her father. She described waking up one night to find Edwards in her room, touching her inappropriately. She learned that if she moved, he would stop, so she would wiggle to make him leave. This was just the beginning of years of trauma that would deeply affect her. The abuse didn't stop after that first incident. Edwards continued to come into her room at night, touching her and even hitting her, leaving marks on her body. He would tell her not to look at him, making the experience even more frightening and confusing. Lisa Marie believed he was doing things for his own pleasure, which made it all the more disturbing. Eventually, she found the courage to tell her mother, showing Priscilla the bruises as proof. But the response was not what she needed. Priscilla confronted Edwards, who made excuses, blaming alcohol or even suggesting that Lisa Marie was somehow at fault. Instead of taking strong action, Priscilla arranged an awkward meeting where Edwards apologized, but it was clear he didn't take responsibility. This left Lisa Marie feeling blamed and unprotected, carrying a heavy burden of guilt that no child should ever have to bear. The abuse continued for years, and it wasn't just physical. Edwards had a violent temper and once threw a chair at Lisa Marie, hitting her in the back. What should have been a safe home became a place of fear and pain. The constant anxiety and violation took a toll on her mental health, contributing to the struggles she would face later in life. Edwards's presence was like a shadow over her childhood, making it hard for her to feel safe or loved. Perhaps the most disturbing part of the story is how Edwards tried to justify his actions. When confronted, he claimed that in Europe, this kind of behavior was normal, as if his abuse was some twisted form of education. These lies didn't just hurt Lisa Marie, they left her isolated, forced to deal with both the abuse and his manipulative words without enough support from the adults around her. Lisa Marie was only 20 when she married Danny Keough in 1988. He wasn't a celebrity, just a quiet and talented person she met at the Scientology Celebrity Center. Their wedding was so private that even her mother wasn't there. They chose a life away from the spotlight that had always surrounded her family. Soon after, they had 2 children. Riley was born in 1989, and Benjamin in 1992. Riley would later become an actress, while Benjamin carried the Presley name quietly, reflecting his grandfather in many ways. Lisa Marie seemed to be searching for a sense of normalcy. That marriage gave her a feeling of safety and peace, something she rarely experienced. During those years, she began writing privately. At first, she didn't share her work with anyone, afraid of being judged. Being the daughter of Elvis meant that any creative step would bring comparisons she wasn't ready for. She once said she felt frozen by the weight of her father's reputation. Still, she kept writing, pouring her feelings into her work, but keeping it to herself, unsure if it was good enough. It wasn't about fame. She wanted her work to be genuine, not something handed to her because of her last name. Her marriage to Danny lasted 6 years, from 1988 to 1994. Even after they separated, he remained in her life. He was more than just an ex-husband. He supported her through difficult times and was someone she could trust. But by the early 1990s, Lisa Marie wanted to find her own identity. She had been a daughter, a wife, and a mother, but she hadn't yet discovered who she was on her own. The divorce in May 1994 wasn't bitter. It was simply a turning point. She was ready to step out of the shadows and live by her own rules. Around that time, she began to take her creative work more seriously. Friends like Linda Thompson and David Foster encouraged her. Linda had known Elvis and understood the pressure Lisa Marie faced. David had worked with many famous people and saw potential in her. They both pushed her to go further. She started recording her ideas and slowly found the courage to share what she had kept hidden for years. It would take nearly a decade before she released her first major project, but the seeds were planted during this period of self-discovery. Then came one of the most surprising moments of her life. Just 3 weeks after finalizing her divorce from Danny, she married Michael Jackson on May 26. The ceremony was secret, held in a small hotel room in the Dominican Republic. No guests, no family, not even Priscilla knew. When the news broke months later, the world was shocked. Lisa Marie and Michael had known each other since she was 7, when she saw him perform in Las Vegas. They reconnected in the early 1990s, and what started as friendship soon became something more. During Michael's legal troubles in 1993, he leaned heavily on Lisa Marie. He called her constantly, and during one of those calls, he proposed. It wasn't a romantic gesture, just a phone call filled with emotion and urgency. She later said it felt strange, almost desperate. Many believed the timing was not a coincidence. The media speculated that Michael saw Lisa Marie as a way to improve his public image. Still, she agreed to marry him. After the wedding, they kept it quiet for almost 3 months. But when the press found out, the story exploded. People questioned everything. Was it real? Was it for show? Priscilla didn't hide her doubts. She believed the marriage was more about business than love, and even suspected Michael was interested in Lisa Marie because of her father's fame. Fans were divided. Some thought it was genuine, others thought it was calculated. Lisa Marie later shared a detail that surprised many. She said Michael told her he was still inexperienced in relationships when they started dating. He said he had only kissed Tatum O'Neal and flirted with Brooke Shields. The rumor about Madonna, he claimed, was not true. Lisa Marie was surprised and didn't know how to react. Their relationship moved quickly. They lived together and their emotional connection was deep. Michael dropped his public persona when they were alone. She saw a side of him that no one else did, vulnerable, intense, sometimes fragile. But the magic didn't last. After just 20 months, the marriage ended in divorce in August 1996. Lisa Marie said it wasn't one thing that caused the split. It was a mix of confusion, pressure, and emotional exhaustion. Priscilla remained convinced that the marriage had been more about business than love. Lisa Marie didn't argue. She said the truth was complicated. What started as a powerful bond became something neither of them could hold on to. It was another painful chapter in her life, another attempt at connection that ended in heartbreak. Lisa Marie Presley spent much of her life waiting for a chance to be recognized for who she truly was. On April 8, 2003, she finally released her first major creative project. No one really knew what to expect. Some people thought it would be similar to her father's style, while others assumed it might not live up to the hype. But when it came out, it surprised almost everyone. It debuted high on the charts and sold over 140,000 copies in its first week. That was a big achievement for someone who had always lived in the shadow of a famous parent. Within 3 months, it was certified gold, meaning it had sold over 500,000 copies. For Lisa Marie, this was more than just a debut, it was her way of stepping into her own identity. What made her stand out wasn't just her last name. She wrote nearly all the words herself and helped create every part of the project except for one piece. This wasn't just a vanity effort. The work felt honest and sometimes painfully real. She expressed her feelings about loss, fame, and family, especially in a piece dedicated to her father. Her voice wasn't perfect, but it was genuine. Critics who expected something shallow were surprised. Some even called her words sharp and unexpectedly truthful. For Lisa Marie, this was more than just a release, it was a statement. Her first single quickly gained attention. The piece was about mortality, memory, and the strange reality that even she wasn't allowed to visit her father's resting place. Its haunting mood and confessional style struck a chord with many people, far beyond those who were just fans of her family. The response from overseas, especially in the UK, showed she had something real to offer. That same sense of authenticity was clear in another track she worked on with Billy Corgan. He was known for his intense style, and his decision to collaborate with her said a lot. The result was haunting and unique, blending their voices in a way that surprised even his most loyal followers. This wasn't a typical pop project. It had a raw edge, and Lisa Marie didn't just keep up, she made it her own. 2 years later, in 2005, she returned with another project. Some people thought her first success was just luck, but she proved them wrong. This time, she again reached the top 10 on the charts, selling tens of thousands of copies in the first week. It also went gold. But what really got people talking was her version of a well-known song that criticized the media and gossip. The words took aim at the press, at rumors, and at the constant attention that had followed her and her family for years. Some critics thought it was too harsh, while others called it bold. Either way, people listened. In her personal life, Lisa Marie faced many storms. One of the most talked about was her marriage to Nicolas Cage. They married in August 2002, during the week marking the 25th anniversary of her father's death. Cage had always admired Elvis, which made their relationship seem almost unreal. Their marriage lasted just over 3 months before Cage filed for divorce. The process dragged on for a while, and both later admitted it was a mistake driven by passion and clashing personalities. It ended quickly and painfully. In 2006, Lisa Marie married Michael Lockwood. They had a traditional ceremony in Japan, with her mother walking her down the aisle and her children taking part. 2 years later, she gave birth to twin daughters. She was 40 at the time, and it seemed like a new, happy chapter. For a while, things were good. But after her surgery to deliver the twins, everything changed. Doctors gave her strong painkillers, and it didn't take long before she became dependent on them. In her own words, what started as something to help with pain quickly became a trap. At one point, she was taking up to 80 pills a day. She kept this secret from the public, but not from her children. Her daughter Riley later spoke about how ashamed Lisa Marie felt. She hated what she had become. After a seizure sent her to the hospital, she began to fight her way out. She went to treatment, relapsed, and tried again. It was a cycle that lasted for years, despite the pain it caused her and her family. In 2012, she released her final major project, produced by a respected figure in the industry. It was a big change from her earlier work, focusing on a more stripped-down, honest style. Critics called it her best work yet, saying it felt like the project she was meant to make. It didn't top the charts, but it was praised for its depth and honesty. For once, people saw Lisa Marie not just as someone's daughter, but as a creative person in her own right. Her personal life, however, continued to unravel. Her marriage to Michael Lockwood ended in a long and bitter separation. They split in 2016, but the divorce wasn't final until 2021. Their daughters were at the center of the conflict. Lisa Marie relapsed again during the stress, and at one point her mother stepped in to care for the girls. The legal battles were intense, with Lockwood eventually gaining full custody after Lisa Marie's passing. He even requested a large sum from her estate to cover legal costs. Lisa Marie never expected her life to fall apart after the birth of her twins. She had surgery and was given strong painkillers, but what started as relief soon became a prison. She needed more and more just to feel normal. Eventually, she was taking a shocking number of pills every day. This wasn't a rumor, she wrote about it herself. She said she couldn't even tell when her body stopped being able to handle it, but it did. Doctors later said even a much smaller amount could have been fatal for someone else. Her therapist called her survival a miracle. But the pills weren't the end. Lisa Marie started using cocaine not to get high, but to counteract the drowsiness from the painkillers. It became a twisted routine. One drug to wake her up, another to slow her down. The cycle wore her out and made her health worse. She checked into treatment centers more than once, some costing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. Her daughter said her mother was always going through withdrawal, and no doctor ever really understood how bad it was. Lisa went to treatment at least 5 times, hoping each time it would be the last, but it never was. The symptoms were brutal. She called it withdrawal in the big leagues. She shook, couldn't sleep, threw up, and felt like her body was being torn apart. There were days she knew she could end up in the hospital or worse. After one treatment, she was given a mix of medications meant to help her stay clean, but those sometimes made her feel even more unstable. She kept trying to get better, but her body was already worn down. Her heart began to suffer next. Years of substance use started to take a toll. Her heartbeat slowed to a dangerous level, and she had to be rushed to the hospital. One night, paramedics found her unresponsive and not breathing. They performed CPR and managed to revive her. At the hospital, she slipped into a coma. Doctors later said she was brain dead for a time. Her heart had stopped sending oxygen to her brain. She was given a pacemaker. Medical reports blamed her heart problems on a blockage caused by past surgery, but also noted the presence of painkillers in her system. Her condition showed how easily the heart and brain can fail together, especially after years of substance use. It wasn't until a major seizure that Lisa Marie finally realized how much danger she was in. Her daughter said that seizure changed her. Lisa began to truly face her addiction, maybe for the first time, without pretending things weren't that bad. Seizures are a clear warning sign, often caused by withdrawal or overdose. She knew she had to act. She went in for more tests and tried again to get sober. The fight wasn't over, but for once, she stopped denying the truth. Then came the worst day of her life. In July 2020, her son Benjamin died by suicide. He was 27. He looked just like his grandfather and struggled with his own battles. Lisa Marie was devastated. She said he was the love of her life. She blamed herself and couldn't let go of the guilt. Her manager said she couldn't even speak after it happened. Her daughters tried to keep her going, but even she admitted it wasn't always enough. For 2 months, Lisa Marie kept Benjamin's body preserved in a guest house on her property. She couldn't let go. There was no law in California forcing a quick burial, so she waited. The room was kept cold, and every day she would go in and sit with him. Sometimes she talked to him, sometimes she just cried. She later admitted it sounded strange and even wrote that she imagined Benjamin whispering, "This is getting weird." But for her it was a way to survive. She had lost her father as a child, and now she couldn't bear to say goodbye to her son the same way. Before Benjamin was laid to rest, Lisa Marie brought a tattoo artist to her home. She and Riley wanted to get his tattoos copied onto their own bodies. They wanted them to be exact. So, Lisa opened Benjamin's casket and showed the artist the real thing. Riley remembered the moment as surreal. She said Benjamin himself would have thought it was crazy. But Lisa didn't care. It was her way of holding on to him forever. By 2022, Lisa's health was failing again. She had been battling infections and constant pain. That year, she had to undergo surgery to remove her uterus. Doctors found the infections were so serious that they had no other choice. Her daughter said that after the surgery, her mother never fully recovered. Her body was tired and her spirit wasn't much stronger. The grief was still too heavy. On January 12, 2023, Lisa Marie collapsed at home. She was rushed to the hospital, but she never woke up. The medical examiner later confirmed the cause was a blockage in her intestines, scar tissue from past surgery that stopped her digestive system. It caused her heart to stop. She was 54 years old. The official report said it was a rare but serious complication. But Riley didn't need a report to know what really happened. She said her mother died of a broken heart.